go. So as you can see, this is the Frost Sorceress. I would say the big benefit to the Frost Sorceress is obviously that's her ultimate right there. It's a pretty good damage output overall. My number one issue was it early on. It just didn't seem to do a whole lot of damage while I was leveling to 25. As you can see, I'm still working on my final step to level 25 here. But between Blizzard, Frost Nova, and Frozen Orb, of course, it does have a lot of really good lockdown capabilities, especially for boss fights. Overall, I would say the Frost Sorceress probably has the most protection overall, especially if you have the right unique pieces. So I found some pretty cool boots. Anytime I use Frost Armor, it basically makes me invulnerable. So it's definitely helpful for some of the dungeon boss fights when you're just running out of potions and there's nothing else left to do really. But really good kiting capability. I still think you're definitely more it definitely takes a little bit of a higher skill level to understand you know, where to put your skill points. Of course, this being the beta, it's kind of early testing, so it's, you know, it's one of those things. It's like we don't really know the full capabilities of final build damage, but it definitely seems to be surrounded upon you know, items with synergies to certain you know, skill trees. But these glyphs, this deal, you just randomly get these glyphs. It never gave me anything for the sorceress. It only gave me glyphs for barbarian abilities. So it was a little PO'd after playing that. But we're finally going to touch level 25 after, I would say, probably 350 minutes of queue time. I would just load up the queue. And it would be, you know, 90 minutes after I got booted out of the game like 3 times, and just play D2R while I was waiting, catch up on Mandalorian, catch up on some TV shows. But it was quite the experience. Compared to the D2R beta, I mean, was so flawless compared to the execution of this one. I just don't understand how they can't anticipate you know, enough, you know, server space. Like, I mean, they're just maxing out like super fast. It was just crazy. But so again, to reset, it's very simple. I've reset quite a few times. I want to say the first one was maybe 300 gold, which is really nothing. And then it seems to kind of peak out at like 2,750 gold. I've reset a lot of times, you know. So we've tried out the Frost Sorceress, we've tried out a bunch of other variations. It's definitely, you know, we started out actually as Lightning originally, and I've seen the capabilities of Lightning, and I do have a synergy item for Chain Lightning specifically. That's why we're respecking to a Chain Lightning build. You know, whereas for the Frost Sorceress gets Blizzard. Once you get to that same set of skills in Lightning, you get an Orb of Lightning. It moves really slowly. I mean, I absolutely hate it. I love Teleport to get out of bad situations for sure. It's very good, even as a Frost Sorceress, to kind of reposition yourself instead of using spacebar to roll out of the way, as there are really good boss fight mechanics that I actually thoroughly enjoyed on both veteran mode and beginner mode, due to different difficulties to see how they played it out. But again, as a Lightning Sorceress, you know, once you get to that Blizzard, you know, skill tree, I believe it's the 3rd tree down, the Orb of Lightning does nothing as far as I'm concerned. I don't think it's very good at all. Again, with the Lightning Spear too. I have tried Lightning Spear. It was kind of useful, but the actual damage that it did overall really wasn't worth spending the skill point, considering we only have so many skill points in this beta to test out. So I have not used the Arc of Lightning. I had been using just the, you know, the Charge Bolt. I forget what it was called. You know, for your basic non-mana wasting skill. Arc actually did really well. You just have to get up close to people. But again, the static discharge, basically what we're going for here on this lightning build is the max amount of damage we can possibly do with 25 points for chain lightning. Considering we have the synergies, and it's very strange on some of these augmentations. One, it drops orbs of lightning. When you pick them up, it's similar to like the pylon that you have in Diablo 3, where you hit that pylon shrine and lightning just starts coming out of your entire character, just attacking everything in its path, basically. So it's a very cool synergy. I'm interested to see what other unique items are going to synergize with those orbs. The one we had right now for the orbs actually grants you 40% movement speed for a duration of time after picking up an orb. So it actually is pretty helpful, but again, I kind of feel like they should have done, you know, I'm sure there's other synergies, but I mean, as a lightning sorceress, you already have teleport, which is so good for getting you out of good, bad spots. And I was still though kind of underwhelmed by the capabilities as far as like the differences of fire, cold, and lightning. Lightning was kind of like, it was just like D2 back, like chain lightning seemed to do the most damage. So this is the lightning ult. These orbs just kind of come out of you randomly, but I mean, I know this is not a great reference point, but this guy, I mean, this lightning just melts these elites for sure. With the synergies that I have on my items, it definitely does quite a bit of damage. I'm just actually swiping him with the basic attack at the end there after running out of mana. Not very mana efficient on lightning or on cold. You're pretty much always out of mana in boss fights as a lightning or as a frost sorceress. Fire by far was the best mana efficient option, more specifically when you go Hydra. I do have a Hydra helm that adds 1 point into Hydra, which early on has been pretty awesome. And then another synergy that it actually, instead of having just 3 heads of the Hydra, it has 4 heads. So you deal a bit more damage as well. So you know, the wand, I believe it was my wand specifically that gave that ability. Again, we're going back to this wand thing. It's very interesting going from staff to wand and then an offhand. Never did find a unique offhand, but I think I'm pretty much done playing the beta right now. I'm not super excited for the barbarian. I was more excited for the necromancer and the druid, which of course are not available right now. So it should be interesting to see what they do with the necromancer. See if he's underwhelming. But in this instance, we are basically respecking specifically to do as much possible damage using Hydra only, and then the only other abilities that we're taking other than our basic is going to be the Flame Shield, which I have a item synergy for. It speeds you up when you use the Flame Shield, also does some more damage around other people. And then we just have the ultimate, which is Inferno, which summons this giant, massive serpent. It doesn't seem to last that long though. Compared to the Frost, I'd say the Frost ultimate definitely lasts the longest and has the most usability as far as boss fights go. Like if you're just totally out of health, you've used your Frost Shield, it's on cooldown. So, and you know, Frost Shield makes you invulnerable with the right item synergy, which is really helpful. The Frost Ultimate is by far the best. That's why overall I really think mana efficiency and just ease of play is going to be fire. Early on right now anyways, we don't know what's going to happen as a final build, but for the beta at least, Hydra is by far, you can just throw them out, kind of hang back. You use almost no mana, so that's good. The other side of it though, the weak point is you don't really have a lot of getaway. I don't even have teleport right now. And the Flame Shield, although it's very good, this build is kind of based upon keeping your health up as high as possible to deal the most amount of damage. So if you're at full life or healthy, as it says, you deal more damage, more critical hits, all that kind of fun stuff. So this is kind of a hang back build, but it does a lot of damage and it's very mana efficient. Overall, the Frost build definitely has the most protection, but it's definitely a little bit harder to use, as you really have to prioritize what mana spenders you're going to be using, because you know, it's not like D2R where you can just continually build your mana bowl up. No, you only have 100. It's you know, at least in the beta, and you're gonna run out of mana very, very fast. So you really have to time all your spells between Frozen Orb, Blizzard, your ultimate, your Frost Armor. You gotta time all those perfect. But as you can see here, though, I mean, I really just have Hydra on my bar, the ultimate, the Flame Shield, and then Firebolt, which is just your basic attack. Really, the main damage dealer on fire is just popping out your Hydra. It's pretty cool. I really like the build. I wanted to do it specifically because of the items I have that synergize with Hydra. It's, for me, it definitely does the most amount of like sustained damage. You know, I mean, if I had a shrine where I didn't have to worry about mana, for sure Frost would do more. But you can see we just melted that guy there. So I mean, I would say overall, the Lightning Sorceress, Chain Lightning, very basic, pretty mobile with teleport, but not a whole lot of protection, but a very good amount of damage. Fire, definitely highest damage so far, specifically on the Hydra Fire Sorceress. And then Frost definitely has the most forgivability as far as protection. If you're playing as veteran, it took me a hot minute to defeat the last boss in this beta. There was a lot of kiting involved. I wanted to say it was a 12-minute fight. Unfortunately, I lost the clip, and at this point, between all the queue times being, you know, 100 minutes plus, I think I'm done for right now. I'll definitely wait until next week. Kind of, you know, unfortunate that they don't have the Necromancer or the Druid up there. Again, this is a stash space, but let me know what you guys have built. You know, if there's any interesting combinations that you guys came up with. But as far as I'm concerned, I think the Hydra is probably one of the more fun ones. It's just not very involved, but skill-wise, Frost is really fun. There's so many different elements, and you really have to watch your mana. But other than that, some really cool uniques, really cool item synergies. It's definitely going to be based upon these item synergies specifically towards what you're going to be building. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or have other builds, I'd love to hear about them. I mainly focus on the Sorceress. I'm not going to spend any time on the Barb or anything else on here. I'm going to go back to D2R farming. But thank you guys for watching again. And hopefully we'll see some more in this next week when they release the Necromancer. Peace out, guys. Stress Jake here. Have a good night.